Good evening. Hope everyone's doing well. Welcome to ShelfSpace. We're getting our camera set up and waiting on our co-host to join. My name is Chris. I go by Almond Brown on the show. And, for the past couple of weeks, we have been talking about gun control, mental health, relationships. The theme of the show, Shelf Space, came from the idea of being able to just have these broad discussions about things relating to mental health, relating to emotional health, and things that are going on in the headlines. So, thank you for tuning in. We're trying to grow the audience and kind of see what happens with it. But once again, thank you. So we were waiting for our co-host, uh, Mr. Headache Mitchell, Mr. Wild Wild West. So we were waiting for our co-host. And in the meantime, drop some comments. Let us know, who you're watching. Share some topics that you'd like to discuss. Turn that echo down. Some topics we'd like to discuss. Today we're gonna talk about gun control because there has been some recent headlines in the news about a proposed compromise between Democrats and Republicans. This is not really a political show, but we do like to address like social issues. And if you tuned in last week, we had a really good discussion about gun control. Headache Mitchell is an avid gun user. Got a deep collection. When he comes to town, he and I will go to the range and get a chance to shoot some of his more heavier weapons. And my question has always been, why do you need it? And he's the other side of that argument, where he is for gun control, but he's one that is not an opponent of those heavier weapons. So give us a few minutes. We'll wait for him to tune in. While we're waiting on them, this week, some of you are P Valley fans. Do watch it, and the second season premiered this week, and I don't want to give away any spoilers, but we're 2 episodes in, and my comment for that is what kind of voodoo magic is going on in P Valley based off that second episode. Again, I don't want to give away any spoilers, but if you are a fan of the show, it all centers around that the strip club that is it's in the deep South in Mississippi, and some of the political battles, social battles, is run by a very popular character of the show, Uncle Clifford, who was a fan favorite last year. He is, he's part of the LGBTQ community, but he's a very prominent, strong character, a central character in the cast, and so I liked his character development last year, where it was going. These first couple of episodes of this one is it's a little different. So I'm not sure what they're trying to do with Clifford. So let's see. All right, you guys hang tight, and we will get our host in here, and we will tackle a couple of topics for you. So I'll be right back. You guys hang tight. All right, guys, we are back. Looks like Headache is trying to join. Uh, hang tight. I'm gonna send you what should be the current link so you can get into the room. So, in the meantime, folks, drop some comments, send me some messages. Um, We're gonna talk about gun control um, right off the bat, and it just seems like it's getting worse. Um, we don't want to be too emotional and overreact, but I think a long time coming to at least have the conversation, for people to be able to talk about it, and without all yelling and the name calling. So it looks like Democrats and Republicans have at least put something on the table to discuss or to address gun control. And we're going to get Headache Mitchell in here to kind of give his thoughts on that. Here's the link. So we're going to get him here to give his thoughts on that. So some of the things that have come up in that legislation are red flag laws. Um, those are, I know one of the things he's going to have somewhat of a problem with, because once you get on that list, it's going to be tough for you to get a gun. And what's going to determine how you get on that list. One of the other things that they are looking at doing is more enhanced background checks for people who are under 21. So the sort of pattern that we've seen in the shootings have been males under the age of 21 or 21 and under, maybe having some emotional or mental issues that have sort of pushed them to become isolated and act out in a violent way. And having these enhanced background checks will help them or help keep these kinds of weapons out of their hands. So apologize, folks. I'm messaging with Ramo now to get him into the room. He is expert. So I'm wondering what your thoughts are. I know a lot of people who have shot AR-15s, and there's a stigma about them, but I know a couple people who own them. I'm a gun owner, but I wouldn't really go out and say I'm a gun nut, if that's an okay phrase. I think it's good for personal protection. You hope you never have to use it, and so what I've done and what Shimmy's done. She and I both, we purchased, but we also went to classes for training. And here's our other co-host. I'm bringing him in now. So we also went to classes for some training. So here he is now, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Headache Mitchell. So welcome to the room. Glad you're able to get in. I know you had some technical difficulties with the link, but it looks like we got that fixed. So let me rewind and just do our normal introduction. We're still waiting on Wild Wild West, and I know he's been busy with work, so he may not be able to join us today. But his input is always welcome. So this is ShelfSpace. We came up with this idea, kind of bounced it around. We used to do a lot of talking on social media and in messaging and just about all types of topics. And Mr. Headache Mitchell, I always call him the baby daddy of ShelfSpace, because he really birthed the idea and kind of really made me see that this is something that we could really grow with. So I go by Almond Brown. All my friends, y'all know me as Chris. And I'll let Mr. Headache introduce himself.
Good evening, everyone, and I do apologize for my tardiness. I did have some slight technical difficulties, but I'm glad to be able to make it to the party anyway. I thank you all for your time. Hopefully, I will give you something to ponder, something to prolong the conversation. Hopefully, I can give you back more than what it is that you're giving me. I am 1/3 of ShelfSpace, Headache Stuff Mitchell. Don't take what I say personally. It's just my honest opinion. It's not always right. Oh, but it is my honest opinion. I will give you as much honesty as I can give.
All right. And the third member of Shelf Space, who is not here tonight but may join us, is Mr. Ron West, Wild Wild West, we like to call him. And he's that third member. For y'all who are just curious, we all went to high school together. So that's how we met. And so it's been fun to see our personal growth from knowing each other in high school and how we were then to how we view the world now. And that's really that concept of where Shelf Space came from. So first topic of tonight, and Headache, I've been kind of touching on it a little bit, but waiting for you to come on because you're really the expert on gun laws and the sort of the history of our history with gun violence in this country. So I really wanted you to speak on that. But there is some legislation that has been proposed to help address the rash of shootings. We've had just a ton, even right here in Augusta, we've had a ton. Just where some dude was shot today at Long John Silver, a Long John Silver that you and I have been to many times. If you ever been, right there on Gordon Highway, just sad. And this seems like it's been a shooting every day this week. So with that, man, gun laws and gun violence is staying in the headlines. And I don't know if you had a chance to kind of wrap your thoughts around this legislation that is being proposed.
A large portion of it, I am a fan of it. They're talking about extending the background checks, raising gun purchases up to the age of 21, proposal of red flag laws. Democrats are on board. Enough Republicans are on board, possibly, to get it passed. It did pass the House. It is making its way to the Senate. As I stated to you and to UGA, I am a fan of raising the purchase limit. Me, I will add the 2 weeks for anyone under the age of 22. I'm a fan of those things. So as I was hoping to speak with him, since no one got back with me on it. It has to be a negotiation, not a hostile takeover. Here's my Glock 19. Magazine is empty. Nothing in the chamber. So the gun is safe. You all want it. There it is. My guns are on the table. What do you have now? As I stated, it's just like with respect. Both parties have to give something. I have to give something from you to get something from you. You have to give me something to get something from me. You want my guns, not specifically the handguns, but you're going to come for them regardless. It's going to be just like how they did in Canada. We started with one thing, and then we're not happy until they get the whole thing, and now they have the whole thing. So as I proposed to you and to UGA, my guns are on the table. Here they are. All of my guns are on the table. Have at it. What do you have for me now?
So
and the reason I chose the Glock 19, the Glock 19 is in this specific model, the Mariner. The Glock 19 is it's like the who's who in the firearms industry.
Right.
It's utilized by the military, This particular model in itself is a government contract gun for the police in the Philippines. So this gun is loved worldwide. I'm giving you what everybody has, what everybody loves, even more than the Armalite 15, it's the Glock 19. Here it is. What do you have now?
I mean, you got a weapon, but I don't understand the question because I don't think the problem is the Glock. I mean, aren't we as a society okay with handguns?
Okay, but it's a just as many of these that's out on the streets now
Right.
as it is. Matter of fact, it's more of these. I only say more of these. Just as many of these globally as there are with the Emerald 15 here in America. Like I said, this was proposed to the police in the Philippines.
Okay.
And there's another one that I'm chasing, the one that they did for the FBI. So it's good enough for your governmental agencies. But then when it comes to me, let's go Brandon, gentleman Joe Biden will have you all to believe that this gun is so powerful, it will literally blow your lungs out of the backside of your body through your rib cage. A whole entire lung will come out of the backside of your body, and that's not the truth. What do you have for me? If you want my guns, or if you want gun reform, the gun is on the table. Let's talk. What do you have?
Okay. Now, if we're gonna talk about sensible gun laws, from then both sides are gonna want to come to the table talk. We already know we're not taking away your handguns. That's not happening. No one's gonna be okay with that. Because if they take the Glock, then what's next? You know what I mean? So we're gonna have to draw a line of what is acceptable for normal use, and what is, and I want to say overkill. I hate to use words like that, but just what is too much. So, yeah, I saw your little dig at Joe Biden. That's all right. It's fine. We're just not gonna get too political and name call, but something's got to be done. You on our last episode told me when they put that Armor Light 15 in your hand, they gave you training on it. They gave you hours of training on it. So you were able to handle that weapon, get used to that weapon, know that weapon before you actually were pressed to use it in a situation where it was called for. Am I right? Am I
Yes, I
right?
will agree. I will agree. I will agree. I will agree.
Okay. Then it should make sense to both of us that someone who walks in off the street that didn't get those hours of training that you had should not be allowed to purchase certain weapons. Doesn't that sound sensible?
Not necessarily, because I do more training on my own. I do more training on my own than your police force is required to do.
But you got the discipline of it. You got the passion for guns. We're talking about, a kid, 18, 19-year-old kid, who's probably their interaction with an AR-15 is Call of Duty. It's a video game, but hey, it looks cool. It's fun to shoot. Maybe I don't know. I can go buy one. I can go get one on my own. I just need the money. They do it. No training. Now, just 5 minutes back, you just told me you went through hours of training with that not that handgun, with that gun, with that type of gun, to get to know it, to be responsible and know how to use it safely. And we're not going to agree. We can't come to some kind of agreement on who should be able to buy that kind of gun with whatever training that you may have. Who should be able to buy that gun? Who?
What about pandemic? When you couldn't go into the gun store, into your local gun shop, you couldn't even pick up ammunition, much less a weapon. Now you got 6 million brand spanking new first time gun owners.
Right.
It's out on the streets now. Same thing with us here in Georgia, with your constitutional carry, where you walk in and you walk out with a handgun and you strapped straight out the box. I'm not a fan of that one either.
All right. Then
So,
what? Then let's not even talk about the Glock. Let's not even talk about handguns. Because you're an
I'm not
avid
even
gun.
talking about handguns.
I'm
I'm talking about
trying.
with anything. With anything, you still have a
Okay.
constitutional carry. You can open carry in the state of Georgia, which means if you have an Armalite 15 strapped to your body, you can carry it. This Georgia is an
What's the
open state carry. It's an
what's
open
the
carry
point
state.
of that though? What? Why? What's the point of that?
What's the point in what?
What are you trying to do? Why are you walking around with an AR-15 strapped to your back, going to Waffle House? Why?
Okay, but the people do it because they do it is intimidation, because the only time that they do that is when they're having these rallies and things of that nature. We in the gun community, we do not propose anybody open carry anything. You're gonna draw attention to yourself. Somebody's gonna become emboldened to think that they can get it from you. So we don't suggest open carrying anything, not even a flip slingshot. Don't open carry anything. It causes more problems. It's more harm than it is help.
Right. Right.
So
Makes you a target. Really makes you a target.
so with the Armalite 15, it has been made into the big bad wolf of the gun community.
But isn't it?
Excuse me, into the world. I won't even say the gun community, into the world. It's the big bad wolf.
Isn't it? Isn't
Not
it?
necessarily. Because
Why not?
when I sent you that link about the Luby shooting, that wasn't with an Armalite 15. That was with a handgun. And he took out 24 people.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
That was with a
So
handgun.
I know. Yeah. Okay. I looked at that video. I looked at the news. Right. So what was that? 20? When was that? That was some years ago. That was some 20 years ago.
1991. I was stationed out in Killeen.
Okay.
One of the guys that I was stationed with, he was there.
Okay.
He actually heard the shots. He was behind the building. He was there.
Right. So now I listened. I watched the video. I watched the news report on that. That was something I don't remember, but the story goes: the guy drove his truck into the front window of a restaurant. He gets out of the car, out of his truck, and he starts shooting people in the restaurant, yelling, "Or Delta, are you happy now?" or something. Apparently, I guess he got.
This is what
fired.
Belton made me do. This is what Belton made me do. Belton is the town that is right next door.
Mm.
It's right next door. It's like North Augusta is to Augusta. It's just that close. It's right on the outskirts. But that's what he was screaming. This is what Belton made me do. And he just went off and he started shooting people.
Right. He started
And when the
shooting
smoke
people.
cleared, there were 23 people dead. He made number
Right.
24. That was with a handgun.
That was with the handgun. But you gotta now listen, it was with the handgun. And I know where you're going at with that. So he did as much damage with the handgun than what happened or just about the same amount of damage as what happened at the elementary school. But there are some other circumstances to that story. One, it was 1991. It's not like everyone was really heightened about mass shootings. I mean, yeah, they happened, but they weren't really heightened about it. The guy crashes through the front door. If you listen to the reporter, when the reporter is interviewing people, they're sitting there just in shock. One lady says, "I thought the gun was the sound of the car backfiring." So she said at first we just kind of sat there. Then when we saw what he was doing, they jumped under tables. Now here's where I think what point you're missing here. Had that dude had your Armalite 15, he would have killed everybody in that restaurant. Everybody.
Not necessarily.
Yes, he would.
It's rate of fire.
He killed everybody.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's the same rate of fire. One pull, one bullet. Now,
One
as you
pull, one
train,
bullet.
which my guy Jerry Mitchell, who is my idol, my hero, Jerry Mitchell could have walked in there and laid down everybody, but he has extensive training, and that dude's finger is unreal.
Okay.
But an
So
average everyday citizen is not going to be able to outperform. The rate of fire is the same. One pull, one bullet. It's
okay.
the same carnage.
But the guy, and again, that same story. He empties his weapon, he reloads, and starts shooting again. And what happened was, so he said somebody in the restaurant threw a chair through another window, and people started running out. That doesn't happen with an AR-15. They said he basically walked around in a circle in that restaurant and just started shooting people. And the just an incredible story was the little young girl, the little young black girl who saw everything and said, I was just hiding under the table. And the person she was sitting with laid on top of her to cover her. And he shot that person in the head and then kept on walking. With an AR-15, they're both dead.
No, not necessarily. See, now you
Now
about
you
to
keep
pull
saying
in.
it's not necessarily, not
What you about
necessarily.
to do is what you
Right.
about to do is
Come on, man. Everyone in that restaurant is probably dead with a more with a
you about
gun
to
without.
pull one of these. You about to pull one of these. The magic bullet. That's what you're doing. You act like this. This firearm has the ability, like it's a Scud missile or a SAM missile. It is not a surface to air missile.
Right.
It
Okay.
does this. It travels the same path
I
as a
agree.
handgun.
I agree.
Velocity may be different because the barrel is longer.
Oh,
That is
okay.
where you get your
Okay.
power from, is from your velocity.
Oh,
But it is
so
not gonna
are
go
you
through
telling me
one and
are you
magically
telling
come
me it's
through
more
the other.
powerful? Are you telling me
Do
it's
what?
more powerful? Are you telling me it's more powerful? Is that what you're
It is
saying?
more powerful, but the way you're making it seem like it didn't have enough power. A handgun does not have enough power to go down and then come up through somebody else. That's that magic
Okay.
bullet theory.
Okay. You're right.
But you're gonna do damage, and I'm not saying that one doesn't do much more damage than the other one, because it does. And you can look at the ballistic gels and see how the ballistic gel will jump off the table and then come back down and start wiggling. That's the reason why I'm a fan of the 300 Blackout. That thing has some power. I love a 300 Blackout. That thing has some power. It's not the first thing that I'm grabbing. And that is because,
Grabbing.
as a
Wait,
responsible gun owner,
hold on. When you say it's not the first thing that you're grabbing, why would you? What are you grabbing a 300 blackout for anyway? Why?
I'm hunting with a 300 Blackout.
You doing what?
I'm hunting with a 300 Blackout.
Man, dude, I've known you since 85. You don't hunt. Come on.
I am okay.
What you hunt?
Just like
What you hunt?
I wasn't carrying a firearm. I wasn't carrying a firearm back in '88. I was carrying a beeper, but I wasn't selling drugs.
Mm. All right, so you're hunting with a 300 blackout. Okay, fine.
I
I
will hunt with
don't want
300
to get.
Blackout.
I'm not going to get into an argument with hunters about what they want to use. I'm like, all right, that's what you want to use the hunt with. If you want to, if you want to, shoot up a little baby deer with with a bunch of holes, fine. You know, I'm not gonna argue with you on what you're if you're using it to hunt with. I think where both sides of the coin can come to an agreement on is the age and background checks of who
Yes.
can buy those high power guns. That's where I think the common ground is. All right. We're never gonna agree on, what a 30-year-old hunter should be able to have in his house, And I'm like, all right, but let's do some things to keep the, just keep the community safe. You know, if you got to get a license to drive a car, then you should have some type of training and license to own a gun. I mean, why not? Why not? What's the problem with that? And here's something else I want you to for the audience, educate us, because not all of us are gun advocates like you. But explain to us what a straw purchase is, because that's also in the legislation. That proposed legislation is to build some laws against trafficking. Right.
Straw purchase is what Kyle Rittenhouse, what they use. Straw purchase is the very first question on the 4473, which is the form that you have to fill out in order to start your background check. The straw purchase is when you buy a gun for someone else, i.e., like when you were kids and you was hanging out in front of a liquor store,
right,
and you was waiting for somebody to come in to buy you some Mad Dog 2020.
Buy that old English.
It's the same thing. It's the same equivalency.
Shout out to Daryl D over at the Fast Fair on Deansbridge Road. But yeah, go ahead.
The thing that and that's where I was upset with the Kyle Rittenhouse story. It's not because he decided to shoot somebody, but you are an 18-year-old with a gun that was purchased illegally, and when it came to trial, they still threw the weapon out. That the weapon was not on trial. The use of the weapon was, and that one, you're just telling people that it's okay, and it's not. And we in the gun community, we're not fans of that. And that he was not a hero. You're a criminal.
Well,
but it's the first question.
Why didn't that come up in the trial? I mean, actually it did, but why wasn't it a bigger deal during the trial?
That is because of your judge. Your judge was the one that decided to throw it out. So
that's right.
That's my thing with background checks. We already have background checks. People are not doing their jobs. If you have a person that has an issue in the military, there's somebody there that fills out the records that's supposed to send the data back to the government. So when something happens, or when a person has a domestic violence case, mental health issues, those things are supposed to be transcribed and sent to the government, and you're supposed to be denied a weapon. But if people are not doing their jobs,
hang on, hold that thought right there. I just want to give some shout outs to a couple of people who are saying hello to us. So John Moss, what's up? Want to say hello to Renita, good friend, Renita Crawford. Thank you. Jen, my girl, want to say hello to her. Terrell, Brother T, please leave a comment. Brother T's always on it. He definitely stays up in the news. We got our old girl Rhoda watching. Oh, milk money. What's up, girl? And and my other mother, Patricia Colon, love her. So thank y'all for tuning in. And Milk Money's got a question. Or actually a comment. The judge wasn't up to par from the start, speaking on the Rittenhouse trial and addressing the straw poll. So didn't mean to cut you off, but wanted to just do that real quick. So go ahead. And you were just talking about domestic violence. That is also something in that legislation they're trying to close a loophole on. So kind of continue what you were saying with that one.
And even with that one, I was thinking about it last night because I had a feeling this was going to come up. 5-day wait for a regular handgun purchase. I'm cool with that one. 2 weeks if you're under 20, if you're under 22, 18 to 21, 2 weeks. I'm a fan of that one. But with domestic violence, if you can produce a restraining order, that should expedite your wait time, not your background check, but your wait time as well. So you should be able to walk out of the store with the weapon with a restraining order, because that means that you've already taken the necessary steps and you've alerted that there is a problem and that you need this weapon right here and right now. The thing that I have against red flag laws,
Mm-hmm.
there's no way to prove anything. It's just word of mouth. And there was a gentleman, an older gentleman in Virginia. Red flag law was used on him. They showed up to his house, 2 guns. He started shooting at them. They shot back. He wound up on the ground. That's what's going to happen when you start enforcing red flag laws. Now,
Right. So
me
what you're saying,
as
those who are against red flag laws are against the accidental red flag, or the one that it shows up as a red flag. But if you look at the circumstances, it really wouldn't be. So now you ended up on that list, and now your gun is taken away from you. That's the argument against that. Is that right?
what was that? I was reading Renita's her comment.
Yeah, I want to get to that, but she's got a really good comment. But so red flag laws, those who are against red flag laws, you're against red flag laws because you can end up on that list on, I would say, by accident, or by a situation where they really didn't look into the extenuating circumstances of what actually happened. And now you pop up on a red flag list, and they can take your gun from you. Is that your argument against red flag?
I mean, at least with a rape case, at least you got a rape kit. You can produce some sort of evidence. But with a red flag law, the only thing you have to do is pick up the phone and say, such and such, he hollered at me, and I was afraid for my life. He threatened me. And the reason I think about that one, I've had it said before in an argument, why are you hollering at me? When I'm not hollering at you.
Right.
Yes, my voice may elevate slightly because of the sternness, but what you hear are 2 different things, and I can't hear it for you. I can't
So
be emotional for you.
Now you've taken that situation and you've got to put it in the hands of a judge to determine if you can keep your gun. I can understand the argument on that. Okay, I can understand. We got to figure something out on that one, clear it to make it more cut and dry. But I also can say, what about the situation where she says, hey, you yelled at me, no one did anything about it, and 30 days later she is dead? You know, I watch a lot of ID channel, seen some ugly stuff on the ID channel. Those
I've
things
started
happen.
watching your restrainment court. I started watching that one.
Yeah, that's funny. That's probably the most hood show on TV, man. They got cheaters beat. That show is straight hood. It is hood all 100%.
My thing
yeah,
with that one,
yeah. Go ahead.
my thing with that one is just like, for me, if something happens and somebody came through the door right now, I have to call the cops first.
Okay.
I have to get to a safe place and call the police first.
Yeah, but you've had training. I've heard that in my gun training class. Like, they teach you not to engage. They teach you that. They teach you it's better to not engage.
I am a very dark-skinned brother, so I have to overthink things first to keep myself out of jail. Even if I am in the right, I still have to consider what it takes to keep myself out of jail. So, as I always tell people, just because I have this gun, or just because you have a gun, you have to call the cops first. You have to give them an opportunity. Get to safety. Do not become the aggressor, because the moment you become the aggressor, you are a criminal.
Well, you're leaving it up to them to interpret what's the danger. Kind of, So it's kind of like you and I had that discussion about the officer who's being charged in, I think it's in Michigan, and trying to interpret when there's danger, when there's not. But that is a good thing. But I did want you to let's get on Renita's question real quick, because that one really bothers me. And it's about arming teachers. And she agrees with it. Now, I know you read the comment. Basically, she's saying that the governor in Ohio reduced the number of training hours for teachers to be armed in the classroom, and it went from like 200 down to 24. I am a little unnerved about arming teachers in the classroom. And oh man, we got Wild Wild West here. I'm gonna bring him into the room too. But I
Roger
just
that.
want to say that to you. I'm a little unnerved about arming teachers in the classroom. I think first of all they've already got enough on their plate already. Okay. And now you're going to put them in a situation almost like a trained law enforcement officer now they've got to make a judgment call and determine, a threat. And, what just the mental and emotional stress that adds to already a hard job. Teaching's already a difficult job. Now you're gonna put a block in their hand and say, hey, when school goes on lockdown, and lock your door, pull your gun out, and if somebody tries to come in, whether you know who it is or not, you don't know if it's a threat or not. Now you got to protect these kids. I'm just not comfortable with that. What's up, Wild Wild West? Thank you for joining.
What's up, Black?
What's up, homie?
Hey, glad you're good. Hey, go ahead and introduce yourself. We let the audience know that you would be joining. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
Wild Wild West is in the house. It's good to be be a part of such a great platform that we have here. And I agree with you, Almond. You add that piece. I just think they got enough on their plates.
Right.
And I think some teachers wouldn't even be comfortable
with
the responsibility. You'll end up losing teachers. There's already a shortage of teachers.
Yes.
And then
that's a scary situation just to think of having to arm the teacher,
And then not only that, I hate to say it, but you got all these copycats. You got teachers that might have that on their minds. Like, you know what? Like teachers with bad intentions.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do some bad things today. So I just think it's a bad idea all the way around, in my opinion.
Man, you brought up a good point, man. What if the teacher comes to school one day and they're on the edge? You know what I mean? Now, Renita's just saying, she said, if my child is in the classroom, I'm good with one teacher being armed. Training is, the training is also voluntary. I'm just so uncomfortable with that. And Rhoda says, with people knowing teachers are armed, they wouldn't be such a target. Yeah, okay, that's a valid point. That is a valid point.
No, it's not.
But
no, it's not.
If teachers are armed, if you know there's a possibility that, I can't speak be in the mind of a shooter, but the argument is if they know that there's going to be some return fire, then maybe that's a deterrent. I don't tend to side with that, but I've heard that argument. But I'm just, man, dude, I just think we're opening up a can of worms if you put guns in teachers' hands.
I'm not a fan of arming teachers. As I stated with you and UGA, the answer would be, and this will also cover Renita's about what's the answer. You have so many vets that are unemployed. Why don't you hire these vets and make them school security, give them a job, and make them government officials, make them agents. They don't have to walk around with the Armalite 15. They don't have to walk around with AKs, but you can have them as plainclothes security, so that they will blend in. They could possibly look like a teacher, but they are not a teacher. They already have the extensive training, which will cover her 200 to 24. My thing with that one is, what's the difference between 24 and 200 before it starts getting into overkill? Because you're going to have your your firing practice, your target practice. You're
Right.
going to have your gun laws. You're going to have all of these things that you possibly can cover in 24 1-hour blocks. Because once you start putting it into this super high number, people are going to be
Yeah.
turned off with actually wanting to go and get the training before it starts getting into repetitiveness. That's a lot
But
of stuff to cover.
yeah, we're asking them to save lives, and 200 hours is too much training for that. I'm sorry. If you're going to be that person, if we're putting that responsibility on you to save lives, to protect this school, 200, if it's 200 hours, then do the 200 hours. But 24 hours of training. Look, my mom was a school teacher. There's no way. No way. She could go to the training, carry the gun, and I just know just the type of person she was. She's not gonna. Emotionally, it would have been over for her, to have to even do that. So you just because you go into the field of teaching to teach and help and build, and now we're asking you to go into the field of teaching, teach, help, build, and also, by the way, you need to be a marksman. Come on, it's not good. Now,
It's too much.
putting
And
substations.
you're already dealing with a bunch of different personalities.
Right.
Not only are you somebody's teacher, but you're somebody's counselor, you're somebody's therapist, you're somebody's parent. You have
Yeah.
all of these things already staggered on top of each other, and then you still want them to be security as well, to be top flight
Right.
security, save the world. It's too much. And that's why
Yeah.
I see with UGA, I see his point.
Mhm.
Is he not an educator himself?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so
Yes.
I understand from his perspective about how he is one incident away from himself being put into that situation. So I
Mhm.
understand it from his perspective. But
Right.
some things that possibly are being asked for is too much. And I don't think that he would want to be security either. He would do it if he had to, if put into that situation. But I can imagine he's not a fan of it himself.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I,
Go ahead, Wawa West.
I just think now what I am for, I believe there should be a security presence, and I'm not talking
Yes.
about a security guard,
Right.
but and if there's a security guard, they need to be armed. Now
Right.
I agree with that, and I think in some places you may need 2 or 3,
Right.
and
Right.
I think that is a better idea than arming the
Yeah.
teachers. Like arming the teachers just doesn't make sense to me.
Doesn't. Renita had a good point about putting some type of substation in the school. So kind of to your point, Wes, is having that presence. Even after the shooting at Robb Elementary, I was talking to Shimmy, but I was like, you know what? If that had happened at schools where I just know the parents, like those the dads, like that one guy that they showed at his school, would just I'm gonna stand at the front door. I'm gonna if I got to take a little extra on my lunch break, and we'll just work out shifts. Like it's like we're all tired of the thoughts and prayers and the tears, and we want to do something to the point where I think if there, like you mentioned, if there is a substation, some type of security presence that is there, and that is their only job, is to make sure that building is secure from strangers. I do agree with having one main entrance for visitors to come to and into a foyer. They can't get to the school. Like you could really prevent a lot of these shootings if you could close off access to those classrooms quickly. When you realize there's a threat, and you've got to put some barriers between them and the classroom. So I like that. And then that same security presence. If a dad wants to go up there and be vetted and say, I want to volunteer my time to be here and just to be eyes or to be a presence, not necessarily armed, but just be a presence there at the school, just to give the kids a sense of security, even the employees. Those are all things I think we can do for the schools. I think are
Okay,
things
but this is
that
the second time back to back that we've done this. We've had the same thing happen at Parkland, where you had the cops that took their sweet time going into the building. It happened at Parkland. It happened at the difference between them and Uvalde, we didn't know who was in charge, so we left the radios at the house.
Right.
That's what took
So
us so long to get in.
Why did they go? Why did they take so long to go into the building? Why? You know why? I want to hear you. Okay, no, I'm going to tell you why.
Sure, I do. I want to hear you. I want to hear you say that they were fearful of the Armalite 15.
There you go.
They should have been.
When they heard that, when they heard that, when they heard that, whoa. Yeah. You laughing, dude. Hey, I'm for real. When they heard that, they were like, "What does he have? What does he have? What else does he have?" Now you're laughing, dude, but that is, in my mind, that is why they did not go into Parkland. That's probably why they did not go into Rob. They felt like, okay, we might be outgunned. We don't know what he has. They're trying to preserve their life also. I mean, you're laughing, dude, but I'm telling you, in a adrenaline-filled, heightened situation like that, what is going through now they're a person, they're a dad, they got to go home too. That fear is in their mind also.
Combat experience. I had to go out across a minefield to pick up 2 Iraqi Republican guards. I was ready to go. But that's the thing is, the way they and it's going to get back to as a medic, your hands start moving before you can even think. And Shimmy can attest to it as well, too. But you've been doing it for so long that you know how to react. So I get that portion with the training. And I am a fan of training. I am a fan of people taking training on their own versus being required to do so. And as Renda said, they are law enforcement. That's all that they are there to do, is to enforce the law. Their job is not to protect and serve. The only requirement that they have is to enforce the law. They're not your personal security. They're not there to stop you from getting shot. They are reactionary. They are not to go out. They're not required to do so. Now, if they choose to do it on their own, that's one thing. But as far as, and it already went to the Supreme Court, where this has been stated, they are law enforcement. They are sure.
Are they not there? Are they not there to stop a threat? Are they not there to stop a threat? Yes.
Ideally.
They're there to stop a threat.
Ideally. That is what we have the imagination of the police, is that they're going to come up, they're going to show up with the guns blazing, the Navarone, they're going to lay everybody down, we're going to head back to the bar, and we're going to celebrate another good day at the job. That's not necessarily the truth. Now they will do that when with certain people, they will do that they have the bravado to go in with the guns blazing, and other people that they don't.
So let me ask this question. You probably heard it asked in the media, and you probably heard it on your jobs, this same question. Why do you feel like it's only happening here, or at least at the level it's happening here, and it's not happening in other countries that has Western civilization?
Good question.
Why here and not other countries?
Okay, but this is what we tackled last week.
Mr. Blicky. Yeah, Mr. Blicky, answer the question.
This is what we tackled last week. The same protests that we are having here in America behind guns, and everybody uses the UK and Scotland, and all of these places, they are having the same protests over knife violence. The same thing.
Man, come on.
It's no different. Come on. It's no go down the rabbit hole.
No. There is a difference. Okay, it takes way more effort to kill 24 people with a knife than it does with an Armalite 15.
Does it?
Yeah.
Yes. Stop, man! No, man! Don't do that! Don't do that! I've heard this on.
I am gonna do it because
hold on.
a man
I've heard
on a
this on
mission,
conservative
if they
show.
want to kill you, if
say
they
this,
want to kill you with a pair of shoelaces,
he's going
they
to do it.
will figure
do
out
it.
a way to do it.
Man,
Just like with your
don't do that.
manifesto.
Don't
Just like with your Buffalo, New York. The dude
Don't.
went down and he did his reconnaissance before he went down.
Right.
Walked through the store, already doing his walkthrough drills, as we call it. We call it a sand table. And the sand table is on the ground. You have everybody line up. You practice what it is that you're going to do. Worst case scenarios, the whole nine. He did that. So that's how he was able to go through, sweep the building, and come back around. He already knew the layout.
Right.
Same thing can happen with a knife, at a concert, at a grocery store.
It takes way more effort. You can be
My
overpowered.
thing with this one is violence, period. I am anti-violence. I'm not just anti-gun, I am anti-violence. So when we start talking about saving children, what about my life? What about protecting me? I am somebody's child. I am my mother's child. I should have the right to protect myself just as well as protecting children. But once it becomes with children, I won't even say with children. With school-age children, it's a different situation.
Yeah, because they're defenseless.
It's not the same. It's not the same when children are picking up guns and using it against one another to settle differences.
Okay. All right.
So that's why I am anti-violence. Period.
I got you, but that's another avenue. That's something, and that's conflict resolution. That's mental health. That's emotional health. That's another avenue. But if we're talking about kids in a school, okay, we're talking about trained officers who I think their training says you're not going to rush into a situation where you don't know what's behind the wall and you don't know what's there. Their training told them not to go into that building when they heard, he's got an automatic, Armor Light 15.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Why? No. I'm gonna do that because you know what you did.
No.
You tried to say he gonna kill.
You're throwing that ugly word around. You're throwing that ugly word around. That's why I'm stopping you there with the brr and doing all of that when that's not necessarily the case. And you using that automatic word.
Right. Okay. All right. You're right. You're fair. You're the gun expert. You're right. You're the gun expert.
Because the worst gun that's on the planet right now is it's a high-tech 9mm. It holds 8 rounds. You'll do just as much damage with that one. It's people. We have to fix people. We have to extend something to people. I'm a big proponent of conflict resolution. You get mad because you don't pass a grade. You go shoot up a school.
Right.
Not a fan of that.
Okay.
Somebody slaps you. You go to a school and you shoot up kids. You're being a bully. And I'm not a fan of that. That's why I asked you about the difference between your child shooting, getting something done to them, and then they feel like they need to pick up a gun and settle it that way against innocent people. There has to be a difference.
Okay. All right.
Same thing with you, Wild Wild West. I can imagine that neither of your daughters, no matter what, unless they are put in a domestic violence situation, that they would resort to picking up a gun and settling a situation. There is a difference. I wasn't raised to pick up a gun to go settle anything. But for me, as we are what I allude back to, I got to go back and answer the moms. And moms is going to ask why while I'm sitting in that jail cell behind that glass Why, son? Why? And I'm not doing that to her.
So good, good lead in for that. Man, well, we're gonna do we're gonna do gun control part 3. But you just brought up something else that we wanted to address on the show, is just mental health awareness. And a big part of some of this gun violence that we've seen, especially when you address that 2 kids get into a beef on the street. Now they don't understand conflict resolution, and the only thing they know is to respond to that emotion with violence, grab a weapon. We're hoping that some of these gun laws will make it harder for guns to get into the wrong hands. But and Wild Wild West, I want to get your point on this also, is that what we're seeing a lot of times with these shooters, and we had talked about this last week, is that these shooters have gone through or are going through some type of depression or isolation or in some type of mental state. I mean, to actually go and do some of the things that we've seen them do, to shoot up a grocery store with just unassuming people. What kind of mental state are you in? And when you've gotten to that point, how many people did you encounter before then who may have seen some signs? So, he asked me about my kids. He asked me about yours. I know with mine, and kind of what he mentioned, like with my boys, I always tried to help them understand that whatever the conflict was, there's a tomorrow. It can be handled. It can be addressed. It is not the end all. And this is a tough generation growing up. And Ron, I know it's because there's no privacy. And I was just talking to Cortez. He just graduated this year, and I just told him, I said, dude, you're like part of that generation who grew up on Facebook, and like you really didn't have any privacy. Your first day of school and your last day of school, I can go find it on Facebook. So what type of mental state are these kids in? And Ron, I want to get your opinion on that. Especially raising girls, like what are some of the things you've seen, and what are some, I don't want to say red flag, but flags or issues or concerns that you kind of pick up from either your kids or who they're hanging around that kind of point to maybe this is something bigger here that needs to be addressed? Go ahead.
I've been fortunate enough that I have 3 daughters. 2, they're pretty much grown, and then I have a third one that's, she's about to be 8. But none of my daughters have ever succumbed to peer pressure. Like they've never really tried to be part of the in crowd. Like my 19-year-old, all her peers, they all smoke weed. She's never smoked weed. I don't think she's ever had anything to drink. And so she's kind of just, when we moved back to Georgia back in 2017, first of all, we lived all over the place. We lived in Washington, Colorado, all these different states. So it was a culture change and shock for her. But she was like, I'm just not going to conform to the norm. And so she kind of does her own thing. She has a boyfriend, and she works, and she just doesn't conform to the norms, and neither does my 24-year-old. So I've been fortunate enough where they haven't necessarily tried to follow the in crowd. They've kind of created their own lane, and they've done well. Where I think about myself growing up, I was part of the in crowd, and then eventually I just kind of got a head on my shoulders and just realized, hey, there's more to life than just being part of the in crowd, if you know what I mean. So I think a lot of kids want to be accepted, and when they're not accepted, they find ways to act out, and then unfortunately, in some instances, it's violence.
Right.
Or
okay, but isn't clout turned into currency now?
What's that?
Has clout not turned into some kind of currency, but it doesn't buy anything? Your reputation, you're a shooter. They're not to be played with. This, that, and the third.
Right. Well, I think it feeds something in them that may have developed over time. We're talking about a different generation here, where we had peer pressure in our day, but we had you know, maybe some refuge to we can disconnect or we can get away from that environment and maybe get something else, um, you know, some other influences, and we're not constantly in touch with that world. Like now that everybody's holding it in their hands, and we've said this before. Something happens at school before you get home. It's not only known around your school, but it's known at other schools. I'm about to tell y'all something. A little embarrassing, but I shared it with Cortez. I was like, dude, when I was in the third grade, and I had to go to the bathroom really bad. We were testing. I had to go to the bathroom real bad. So I got up. I went and asked the teacher, hey, I got to go pee. She's like, you need to sit down. And I was like, go back. I sit down. I'm doing the butterfly with my legs, just sitting there like, yeah, I got to go. And, I'm about to go. And then she told me to sit down. So I pissed on myself in the third grade, man. Dude, I was so embarrassed.
See, that wouldn't have happened to me.
My homeboy Rashad was like, dude, I would have just went. He was like, dude, I would have just went to the bathroom. But I mean, she told me to sit down. But I'm on the bus. I'm all embarrassed. She tried to like give me a shirt to wrap around me, and the kids are just like, dude. She gets on the bus and she laid into all of them. Okay, I overcame that, right? But had I been in the digital age that we're in now, ain't no way. No way, because it would have been on video. It'd have been on video. It'd have been all over the school system. And how am I going to recover from that? Except become withdrawn and angry. And now I'm looking for somebody to take it out on. The beginning of that toxic stuff that builds up into, and it forms some type of emotional outburst.
That's the thing that's kind of getting me. That's the thing that's getting me with the Delonte West situation. People will post him out on the street panhandling, but they will not offer him anything. We turn everything into content, even stuff that we know better, or to give someone some sort of privacy or some sort of dignity. We have been so far removed from that.
Yeah, I mean, good thing is, Chris, we didn't have social media back then, so there's no visual evidence of it.
But even if it was even today for these kids, even if you've got to find a way to get over your embarrassing moments. You've got to find a way. You know what? When you had mentioned how your girls grew up and you moved around a lot, so you built up that home unit where there was confidence, there was love. They were fed that at home. So when they went out into the schools and were around peer pressure, they didn't need to feed that. They didn't need to feed into that to feel like they were somebody. You know what I mean? I always like one of the things I was tell my boys is, I love Jim Valvano. You've watched his speeches when they come up, and when he talks about his dad, he said the one thing he always got from his dad when he talked to him on the phone, he said his dad was that kind of person where when you got on the phone with him and you got off the phone with him, you felt better than you did before. I love that speech. He said he always felt like his dad made him feel like he always had confidence, like there was always confidence, and he believed in him. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get on him and fuss at him and all that, but I'm gonna also be their biggest hero. Like it's me and you and the rest of the world. You know what I mean? So if something goes wrong at school, it's okay, because when you come home, you know what I mean, you're a hero here. We'll feed you that confidence you need to go, and you'll overcome whatever that is out there. And maybe that's what some of them are missing. I think these ones that develop in the suitors, and I don't know. We're not professionals. I can't sit here and diagnose somebody, but I just feel like, just in my years of coaching, you could tell when a kid comes to practice, a kid who's been fed confidence at home, and you can tell when a kid comes to practice who's been told he ain't gonna be anybody. You know what I mean? You can tell.
You can see that on your job.
Yeah.
You can see that with your coworkers, that oftentimes we will not extend ourselves even to a coworker that we could visibly see is going through something. We'll bypass them like that's not my problem.
I want to hit on something, and I don't know if you guys. I'm on Twitter a lot, probably just as much as I am on Facebook. But I look at the tweets from this younger generation, and it's always their tweets are always so disturbing and dark. Like you hear them even when they're trying to make jokes. Like I wish I could die right now. Or I wish I wasn't living. Or there's
Mhm.
nothing to live for. I mean, it's just a dark, extremely dark generation.
Right. Right.
And and why is that?
Man, that is ooh. That's going to take a lot of digging to figure that out, man. Because you're
Well,
right. I mean,
I'm gonna
the
tell you.
music is dark.
Think about this. At least when we were younger, and even as we got into our early 20s, there was always, everything always leads to music for me, as you know. But you always had those happy-go-lucky rap groups that were
Right.
those fun rappers
Yeah.
that you don't have any of those guys right now. Like
No.
they're
You're right.
all dark. That drill
Right.
rap. It's all so dark.
Right. So good. That's a good thing. You right. The music is dark, but Ron, let's ask a deeper question. Those kids, who are their parents? Who, you know what I'm saying? We like those are the kids that we, may have ushered into the world. And so, what did we teach them? What were we putting into them? You know, what was so dark about our time that maybe we did something we didn't realize. Um, I'm just throwing it out there just to think, man. I'm trying to wonder what happened. Did we become so focused on work? Um, a lot of times, like I know us as men, when you think about men's mental health, like we don't go to the doctor. So we're definitely not getting any kind of mental health. So maybe they saw these toxic relationships where, I mean, there's a lot of divorce, there's a lot of just broken homes. And not saying that a kid can't come from a broken home and be okay, but just when the home was broken, it was truly broken. There was no connection with that other parent, or there was a bad divorce, and maybe they saw some things. I mean, we all have friends that have gone through that. I mean, I know personally people have gone through that. So what did we put out there in the universe for this generation to be so dark?
But for me, a single parent household is not a broken home.
No, it's
When
not.
you got broken people in the house raising children, that truly to me is a broken home. For
Good
me, I
point.
think
You
that
can
we
you
since
can
we've
have both
normalized
parents. Yeah,
since we've
you're right.
normalized single parenthood, baby mama stuff, the baby
Yeah,
mama generation, you have a no father in the home, no grandfather, no great grandfather.
yeah,
Where is the balance going to come from? We've normalized this stuff, and that was the scariest thing. Even back in my first encounter with a young girl that had a baby was seventh grade.
mm,
Yeah,
That was scary. That was scary to me.
I
yeah,
remember, 12, 13 year olds were pregnant when we were in high school. You
yeah,
know,
That
yeah.
was
no
scary.
offense, as I'm sure some of them turned out well, but that was
That's
different.
yeah.
But
That
nevertheless,
was scary to me.
hey,
And
just
not even,
just transitioning before we go in. There's a lot of really good comments on the side. Any of that we want to tackle?
Yeah,
Or
yeah, no, I'm glad you said that. Yep. And if there's one that stood out to you, Ron, go ahead. But I definitely want to mention like Angie. Angie's a real cool person, and she said, that she hurts for those who have been constantly beat down. She wants to reach out, but sometimes she feels like she needs to stay in her lane, and I can understand it because it is uncomfortable, especially trying to approach a stranger. But sometimes, and for me personally, sometimes it has been a word from a stranger that has kind of helped turn my day around. So sometimes when you don't know the person, if you're moved to say, sometimes it's just a word of affirmation. I think Redman said this once on Twitter, man. he was walking around. He was, wow, you know, Redman's lost a lot of weight. I don't know what's going on with him, but he was saying that we don't say hello to each other anymore. He made a good point. He made a good, especially men. He said we walk by each other and won't even make contact, won't say hello to each other. And he purposely was on Twitter. So I'm gonna say hello to everybody I've run into today. That was Redman. You know, Redman. Come on, what the album? Redman, one of my favorite rapper of all time. You know, but definitely show, you know, I'm a man, you know, persona that came across on the records. But here he is being vulnerable and saying we don't say hello. And when he said that, man, that really struck me. Sometimes just a hello can turn a day around for a stranger. I mean, it just can. It has done it for me. So you know, that was my response to Angie.
But what's up now is what's up. It's no longer what's up, bro. It's what's up. That's what it has turned into. I was in Foot Locker picking up some SpongeBob, some Carrie SpongeBobs. Dude turned around, pants is all the way on the floor. He turns around, face tattooed like crazy. Already know, don't say nothing to him. You already know it's a problem. So, I mean, and that's the thing now, you can't speak to people. Also, when I was in Brooklyn, my first time, and I'm used to speaking to people, I throw my hand up to wave to the bus driver, it automatically goes down. And the first thing that pops in my mind is, what are you doing? You are not at home. These people do not move like this. But you can't speak to people now because everybody is on edge. Or what you telling me for? Or it's they already have a chip on their shoulder. And that is difficult, assisting people to take the chip off their shoulder versus them thinking you're looking to knock that chip off their shoulder.
Yeah.
What you say about that, Ron?
I mean, he's right. he's absolutely right. But for the most part, you know, whether it's at the drive-through or in the store, I just like Angie just said in the feed, she tries to make contact and speak to everyone. And I'll tell you, for the most part, here in the South, you know, I'd say 90 to 95% are gonna speak back. Up north, because I lived up in you know, I lived up north for about 4 years. Yeah, it was a whole different animal. That just didn't work. You know, so it's a different beast up there. To Raymond's point.
Yeah, I think smaller southern towns still do it. You know, you can go down to Millen, Swainsboro. Where's that restaurant down there in Louisville? It's a real good, like, oh man, I can't remember the name. It was just a really good restaurant. You go in there, hey, just friendly. I would say here in Augusta, man, go grocery store, head down, walk past you, you know, no words, no eye contact, you know. One time me and Angie had an exchange on Facebook about, like, when you're at the grocery store and you see somebody, you know, pushing the cart back to the or getting done with their cart, you know, man, I don't know, man. I just make a point to, hey, I'll get that for you. You know, just my days of working at Kroger, man. I still like to feel connected to the common folk, you know. But I just get the cart, just take it back. Just things like that, man. You know,
how many of your neighbors do you know?
Happen, you go there. Oh.
How many of your neighbors do you actually know?
You're right. I'm embarrassed to say. I used to know them. That some have moved recently because, you know, I knew them because our kids played together. But the ones right now, I don't know them. I don't. Got a military couple that, you know, that lives. I don't know their names. I wave, but I don't know them. Lady next door, I don't know her. You know, I just make sure I get my dog's crap up out of her yard because, you know, she made a point to say something to me about that, but
But the reason I
I'll
brought
get
that up is because it's just that close that we don't even know the next door
yeah,
neighbor. I know my immediate next door neighbor and the gentleman Clyde across the street. I know those two, but the people in front of me is rental property, and the people next door to me are rental property. Except for my introduction to them, I had the blicky in my hoodie just in case because the
yeah,
two ladies were out there arguing. And we don't do this. This is a residential district. This is not the hood. The
right,
only thing I did was I walked to the door, I looked at them, and I stood there for a second to let them know we don't do that here. And
yeah.
then they got
I've
their
done
act
that.
together, and then they took it in the
Right.
house. But this hood mentality that we have, that it's okay to be hood everywhere we goes, something has to be done with that one as well too, from a mental standpoint.
Yeah, yeah. No, you're it's good, man. Well, man, that is that's a really good that's a good discussion, man. I really think like that mental awareness where we're understanding what kind of society we're in, but if we could maybe stop being so isolated, and we are isolated when we're in a group of people, we just isolate ourselves. I think that kind of helps open the door to just understand yourself. And then like next week, I want to, when we talk about the mental health segment, I want to talk about fear. Like, I want to go back to an earlier discussion that we had that I thought was really good, that Ron Wild Wild West had brought up about fears, and I want to talk about that. But I wanted to slide into Ron's segment right now. He made such a really good eye-opening post earlier this week about soulmate versus that toxic avenger. So is it that person? Is that person toxic? So we put in the headlines for the show. Is it the soulmate or is it toxic avenger? Thought it was funny. We sometimes refer to headache as the toxic avenger. But Ron, I wanted you to kind of go into a little bit of where that post came from, and let's talk a little bit about soulmate and what the definition of it, and what do we think? What do we think about that in a relationship? Go ahead.
Man, it's I was just thinking, I was like, a lot of folks are in relationships for years and years, but it's really not their soulmate. But then there's somebody out there that is, and they keep going with what's comfortable for whatever reason it is, and they know it's toxic. Whether it's physical abuse, and people think that abuse is only physical. It can be mental, it can be emotional,
Right.
all those different things. But they keep going back, and it's just crazy. And
Yeah.
but here's what I would say about that situation. Don't Some people get confused with their friends tell them that's toxic when it really isn't. Their friends could be toxic. So
Yeah.
you can't always listen to what your friends say in regards to your relationship. Just think about their situation.
Right.
They're bringing their toxic ways into your relationship, and that could make your relationship toxic because you're listening to your friends.
Good point. Yeah. Good point. We've said it before. I think we throw that word toxic around a lot, and maybe it's not. And then, like you said, maybe it's a situation where it's not toxic. And then I think there's times when, like, when I've read, like, hey, toxic. What is it? I've read some characteristics of that, and I think from time to time you go into different phases, and you might be toxic. You may not have been, and then all of a sudden you're just not handling a situation well. Could be stress at work, could be something going on with the kids, something going on with your parents, and now all of a sudden you become a little toxic, or the relationship that was good then turns toxic. I think I used to believe in that whole soulmate, that one. I mean, it's just from watching movies and stuff, back in the day, man. You just like that one, you see it before you even talk to her, and you just look at her in the face. she's my soulmate, you know. Then as you yeah, as you get older, I think I don't know if that's a true definition of so I think there are people who you're good with. You know, I'm gonna get real galactic with y'all right now. Here's what I believe, you know, just me personally. I think people are made out of you know, people who are connected spiritually are just made out of like the same cosmic part of the universe. That's why there's an attraction there. And it may not be necessarily y'all supposed to get married and be together. You just click with them. And it yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's like dudes, girls, even dudes, you just click and y'all just mindsets are the same. And so not necessarily a soulmate, but somebody you are kindred spirits with. And so when you find a someone that you're attracted to and you have that kindred spirit, I think that's where you get that feeling that they're a soulmate. Now, are they a toxic avenger? Can they turn into Headache Mitchell and become the toxic avenger on you? I still think they could. I still think that soulmate could flip it on you. You know what I mean?
I think everything ties back to the love languages, what we spoke about about 2 or 3 episodes ago. It's just understanding what makes that person click. I think that is so important.
Let me just add this right here. Hey Angie, we love you too. So Angie says, don't take this the wrong way, but I want to hug you guys just because you care, and we need more people like you. That's very nice of you. So
thank you.
You know, infect people with your heart. That is yes. Thank you.
Thank you for your thoughtfulness.
Yes. But yeah, that you know, I mean, I'd love to, you know, every love story to be like it is in the movies, but I just don't think. I think if a woman or man is out there looking for that soulmate, I think that's when they're more likely to find that toxic avenger.
Can it not be? Can it not be?
Go ahead.
Do we overcomplicate things?
I don't know if it's overcomplicated, but maybe we make up stuff that really isn't there when you want it to be, you know what I mean? I think Ron knows what I'm saying. You know, when you want it so bad and maybe you make up things that really aren't there.
Okay, but that's my thing is what happens when we only want it for ourselves, which is a question that I often propose to young ladies is, what do you want from us? Not what do you, I know what you want for you. You're no different than pretty much predominantly everybody out there. But what do you want for us? Because if we are a couple, this has to be about you, and it has to be about myself as well too. It just can't be about you.
Boy, look at the Toxic Avenger. You done read some books this week, didn't you? Boy.
The stuff in the background don't read itself. The stuff in the background don't read itself.
You look at him dropping knowledge, man. But I think you spot on with that. You spotted. People don't really ask that question though. They sit down and ask each other, "What do we want out of this? What is successful? What is a good relationship going to look like between us?" They don't ask us that.
But we as dudes, that's our fault because we don't ask. We ask just enough questions, and women don't ask enough questions.
Have you guys noticed, you know, just going out to a restaurant, how many couples or families, they're all on their electronic devices and they're not paying each other any attention? It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. I can promise you. Now the kids, they might get on theirs, but that's one thing that we choose not to do. You know, we're gonna put those phones away. You know, we do enough of that already because our cell phones have become our everything for whatever reason. Like, okay, I'm an Apple guy, and I'll be like, okay, I'm just checking it every now and then. It showed my screen time to be an average of 10 hours and 30 minutes. I'm like, what the hell am I doing on my phone for 10 hours and 30 minutes?
But to your defense, I'm going to say this to everyone's defense, that is where we get a lot of our information from. That is where we do a lot of our communication, socializing on. And I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying to your defense, it has replaced a lot of things. I think we need to get away from that, because you mentioned being at the table out for dinner. Put them down. We're in such a disconnected society. Kind of back when we were talking about we don't say hello to each other. We're in such a disconnected society, and that is starting to permeate and leak into our relationships. And so I think that's an opening for things to get toxic when you're disconnected like that.
But the internet is always there, even when you're the person that you love the most, even when they are not. They're there. The internet is always there.
Right.
Whatever you're looking for, you can find it there. So I look at that as the written, where everybody's on their phone. Restaurants are the same way. Everybody. And back to the gun thing, I really didn't pay attention to that until the first day I went out, loaded and ready to go. And that was the very first time I noticed, even in the mall, everyone's heads are down.
Yeah.
We are the most disconnected people in any point in time. We're connected, but still disconnected at the same time.
Because it's easy. It's easy to do. It's avoidance. It's one thing we're going to talk about in the future. It's a fear. There's a lot of fear. I think there was a lot of fear in us, and maybe we projected some of that onto that next generation, because there's a lot of fear in us. We grew up. What was it? Correct me if I'm wrong. Was it Desert Storm? And then desert. I mean, that the conflict in the Middle East. We had all kind of bird flus and all kind of stuff. It just seemed like the news was just rolling, on, and then video came along, and then we started seeing things that even projected more fear in us. The Rodney King thing that went down. We saw that on camera. Whoa. Then all of a sudden our music, whether we liked it, and we liked it, but be honest, a lot of our music was taught us to be afraid of certain neighborhoods and certain people. There's a lot of fear in us, man. And maybe we didn't process that the right way. I don't, again, I'm not the professional. I'm just saying it just to put it out there. There is a lot of fear in us. So, but I'm sorry. I didn't want to get some sidetracked, man. My bad, Ron. I wanted to ask Ramo, define soulmate. So I want to ask the toxic avenger himself, define a soulmate.
I really don't have one.
He's stuck.
I don't have a definition of a soulmate, because she may be my soulmate. I may be her soulmate up to a certain point. So I'm not a fan of this thing where we're in this relationship, and then you're going to be the very last one that I will ever date in my life. There's nobody else out there. What if Allah has a plan up to this point with you, and then you transition on? Am I supposed to stay here and not be a soulmate to someone else?
You're right. That happens. That does happen.
So it's not that I'm looking at it from a bad perspective, but if you have more women than men, how you look somebody in the eye and say, sweetheart, you could do everything that you possibly can do. You could be whatever it is what a man wants to be, but you will never have a husband. Ever. How do you explain that to a woman and she be cool with that?
Well,
just like with the baby mama thing. How do you tell a young lady, this is the very best that it's ever gonna get? The only thing that you will ever be in life is a baby mama. Get over it.
Is a what? Is a what?
The only thing that you will ever be in life is a baby mama.
Is a baby
A
mama.
multi-baby mama.
Who, you told that to somebody?
No, sir. I
Oh,
said
okay.
How?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I'm glad that Dawn Wilson has shown up, because something that I wanted to delve into was downloading our viruses into other people, be it your children. And that's something that my mentor brought up. He said it's like when you get a brand new computer, but you take the old hard drive out and put it into a new computer, or when you're transferring data, your old data, into the new computer, you're just downloading them same viruses from the old one into a new computer. And we do that as people. We download our viruses into other people.
I mean, we do that, but as kind of as to Ron's point about being toxic, we don't have to accept that. So you know, like on his post, when we're looking at that person as, oh, you're my soulmate, and then maybe we keep going back to them and they're really toxic. At some point, we've got to decide what we want. You said it. You said two people sit down and say, what do I want out of this relationship? You've got to decide for yourself what you want out of that relationship and what you're going to allow, what you're going to take. You got to have some kind of communication. And if you don't see that the growth is there, if you don't see that the environment is there for you to become that person you want to be, then it's toxic. You can't go back. We joked about it, Ron, but they keep going back. You know what I mean?
The devil you know is better than the devil that you don't know. That's where a lot of people are with that one. I'd rather deal with this devil over here that I know what triggers them versus going up and picking up a new devil and then having to relearn them. That's why a lot of people either stay where they are or they go back.
Ron, what's your thoughts on that?
Which part of it? Because that's a lot.
So going back, so I'm here, young lady, young man in a relationship. That's my soulmate. I'm trying to make it work. Some things go wrong. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're not that one, but some things go wrong. You don't fix them. You just keep going back expecting something different, but you haven't addressed it. Why are we continuing to do that and expecting different results?
Well, it's many other reasons. Some people say, it's the physical attraction or the things that they do between each other that makes them keep coming back. Some of it is they're just afraid to get out there. It's like, I could be doing worse. There's many reasons. Yeah, obviously, if there's kids in the relationship, that keeps couples together, no matter how toxic it is. Hey, we're doing it for the kids. There's just many, many, many reasons as to why.
Yeah. Yeah. I just want to recognize some of the comments. Angie, we need to have her on the show one day. She's just
I was gonna suggest
that. And yeah, I agree, Angie. She does need like candles. I mean, if one of the qualifications, if you're gonna be a soulmate, you gotta like candles, scented candles. But and then Dawn had a comment that said she's been here the whole time, and actually she does know how to listen and speak, and you have to work at it. And she is absolutely right. So another thing is
giggling because I'm looking at her, and that last comment that she made, because folks are lazy in relationships. That's what made me giggle. That's what made me giggle.
She's right. She's right. I think Ron is, oh man, you said it, dude. It's fear. It's a lot of it is fear. Fear will leave you frozen. Well, you won't change anything. It'll make you not change, even though you know it's not a good relationship. And I'm not saying like everyone who's listening to us go look at your whoever your significant other's with and like you're toxic. I'm out of here. Pack my bags and leave. No, that's not what we're saying. What we're saying is just really, if you haven't done it already, sit down and just you start talking like Don said. People are lazy in relationships. Sometimes you don't want to know, and you just want to continue to go with the status quo, and you're afraid to rattle any cages or make changes. But just say, look, what do you want out of this? Here's what I want. What do you want? May find out some things that person really is, and you start communicating a lot better, and you get rid of one of the things that makes a relationship toxic is bad communication. When people just aren't talking to each other, like Wild West said, sitting at Applebee's, she's on her phone, he's on his phone, waiting for the breadsticks to come out.
Come on now.
Waiting for the breadsticks to come out.
Do couples really talk anymore?
Yeah, I do. We do.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about at large. You're going to talk, both of you. Well, I'll take that back. All three of us are going to talk. We're going to hold conversations. And I think that's because the three of us are confident in our conversational skills, no matter the styles or whatever. But honestly, do couples actually talk anymore? Do we sit down and not that communication thing, because that's a whole beast in itself, but actually sit down and talk?
They should. I've heard couples breaking up because, and the reason was he doesn't or she doesn't talk to me. I'm like, what does that even mean? What do you mean they don't talk to you? What do you mean they don't talk to you? You're married, aren't you? And obviously he asked you to show up to the wedding. So somewhere along the line, it's not that you don't talk. It's I'm afraid to share my feelings, my thoughts, my vulnerability. I'm afraid to do it. You might criticize me. Something that men, Ramo, toxic avenger, okay, has brought up on the show before. Not sharing your true feelings, your true thoughts, and always bending to her will. I know that sets him off. He ain't trying to give a woman Nathan, okay? She don't deserve Nathan. Ain't that right, toxic avenger?
That is so far not the truth. Now that getting over thing, no, because if I don't stop you up front, after two times, it's permanent. We're supposed to just roll with it. And I don't want to do that. So that's my toxicness is I just want to love you. That's it. I don't want all the extra gravy. I don't want all the extra stuff that comes with it. Just come in, do what you're supposed to do. We have a great time. We get to a certain level. Let's keep it there. I don't need you with the red pill and the blue pill, and I don't want to take either pill. I just want to stay here with you and we be in a good place. Now, are we always going to be in a good place? No, we are not. But some people make love difficult because they want what they want for themselves and they don't want it for us.
They don't want.
And I understand the
Okay, I follow you.
I understand that it's kind of like being somebody's mother. You really don't want a mother. You just want your girl to be your girl and not be your mother. And sometimes I think single parenting, because they are forced into making all the decisions, sometimes you just don't know how to get out of the way.
No, you did mention something that I think happens with a lot of single moms. If they've been raising that child and they've been making the decisions, then it's a little difficult to allow someone to come in and now have a role in that. That's difficult. But you got to talk through that. Like Dawn said, people are lazy in relationships. Sometimes the guy won't press on that because he's afraid of upsetting her.
Scared.
Fear.
He is scared to death. Because as soon as I make moms mad, I don't know what moms is capable of doing. And I'm not talking about mother moms. I'm talking about happy wife, happy life. And I don't believe that. You will never sell me on that one. I am Toxic Avenger on that
Look, we're gonna get you a t-shirt that says Toxic Avenger.
one. Exactly.
That's the perfect name for you. You should change your name to that.
I mean, I'm not doing that. We are not doing that. Because I mean, if I allow you to hold the house hostage and you're the only one that's happy,
Right.
I'm going to resent you.
Yeah, but happy wife, happy life. I live by that creed, and I'm okay with that because that gives me my peace in a lot of situations. It don't take a whole lot to satisfy me or keep me happy. I'm good.
Of course, we are men. It does not take much for us to be satisfied. It doesn't take a whole lot.
Maybe it doesn't feel like it does, but you're like, wow, West is getting something out of that relationship. Say happy wife, happy life, and be at peace with it. It's because you get something in return. Like it's communication. You know what I mean? It's back and forth. So she's doing something also to make you feel safe, make you feel comfortable, make you feel make you feel like you're a part of that relationship. It's not just all one way. I think with Toxic Avenger, he's so bent on
No, don't do that. Don't do that. Because I'm sitting on the sideline.
Toxic
This is one of these
Avenger
cases.
don't want to get. He don't want the scales to ever outweigh. You know what I'm saying? Like he was like, wait a minute, I don't too much on there.
No. I have a lot of guys. Like I said, I'm not speaking from personal experience on this one. This one is coming from guys that fall for the trap where they do everything up front and then they get mad when she doesn't, when they've set up the dynamics of the game where you can have whatever you want. And then when they don't get anything in return, and when they teach these young ladies that you can have anything that you want and do nothing in return, it becomes a problem. I'm speaking for them. This is not from personal experience. Because as mine before, she does go out of her way to give me some sort of peace and some sort of solace. In return, I give her the same thing, and I want her to have the ability to sleep well at night and not have to worry about me. Or if the phone rings in the middle of the night, it has nothing to do with me. That's priceless.
Yeah. Hey brothers,
Having peace is priceless.
Hey brothers, I'm gonna disconnect. I know y'all gonna be getting off pretty soon, but I gotta disconnect.
Yeah, we're gonna wrap it up. Yeah, Ron. Hey, I just want. Yeah, we're gonna wrap it up. Raymond mentioned something that I want to get back on next week, and that is like when you've set it up, when you've done things for her, and then you want something back. Now you're setting yourself up for failure. That is a toxic trait. I want to address that next week. We'll be back next week with some more really good topics. And we're going to give everybody a chance to sign off. Ron, I know you got to run, so I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you first, so you can say goodbye to the audience, and then we'll sign off.
Well, I'm going to tell you the thing that was most impressive was the engagement of the listeners. That right there was extremely. As I was seeing the comments coming in, it really added a different dynamic that this is the first time I've ever seen the comments. So I just want to thank everybody that participated and had comments. It brought a different flavor for me, and I think it really enhanced shelf space tonight, in my personal opinion.
Thank you. I agree. Headache, go ahead and give them your sign off.
Shout out to David. and you ain't no bear. You can growl all you want to. Go growl over there. I'll be over here when you done growling. Thank you, Dawn, for that one. Thank you for picking one that you can trust yourself with him and he can trust himself with you, and that you all are happy with one another. I appreciate that one. Thank you so very much. This is Headache Mitchell signing off. Thank you all for the engagement. I really do appreciate it. Angie, thank you for everything that you have brought. That was very beautiful of you to be able to do that, and I do thank you for that one. In signing off, as I always say, shoot paper, not people.
Awesome. All right, y'all. I am Almond Brown. I'm signing off. I want to thank you for all the comments. And yes, Dawn, much love to you. And our boy David, we know that he is watching us with smiles from up above. We love him. I still remember my last conversation with him. So much love to you and the family. Angie, thanks for making us laugh. Renita, Rhoda, all the comments were just really good. Pat, my other mother, love you too. This is Almond Brown signing off. Make sure you tune in to us next week, where we are going to tackle some more really juicy topics. Again, we always like to address mental health. We like to talk about relationships and things that are going on in the headlines. This is ShelfSpace, and thanks for tuning in. Everyone have a good night.